Best of r/entitledParents episode 7. My first Reddit post. P. Not me, be someone I know. The mother of the top junior national badminton player of X country was watching her son train when she suddenly spots someone out of the corner of her eye. Another player who is a bit worse than EM's son and also a bit older, let's call him Dave, watches his son train while Dave is stretching. Keep in mind, it's very commonplace for people to watch others play because they have nothing better to do while stretching. EM, who is enraged, immediately tells one of the coaches that Dave is trying to steal her son's tactics and demands that the coach removes Dave from the premise. Dave isn't even in the same age group and won't even compete against EM's son, but Dave is rudely told off by the coach despite such an unreasonable request. Needless to say, Dave didn't not train at that club again. Thank you. Next. Oh boy, where to begin? Now context. When I was 1, my great granddad in my dad's side died from old age. He was 101. He fought in the Falklands conflict and had a lot of money invested into British stock and loved to collect wine. Now, was his only great grandchild and he loved me in the short period between my birth and his death, and he said he wanted me to remember him by. So in his will it states when I'm 18, I'm 15 now, I'll receive something from him. Currently no one knows what it is except my granddad. And he won't tell. He respected his dad too much. No, EA is my dad's younger sister and she is an entitled bitch. She tried to throw away all my dad's childhood belongings because I need room for my ice chew off and him can only put it in his room as my and is fool. Thank God my granddad shut her down as my dad has some pretty valuable stuff from the 80s. This was 2 years ago and we've had no contact since. I might also add that she lives in Yorkshire so hardly see her. Yesterday around 9 PM I receive a phone call from her. This is the conversation to memory. Me. Hello. EA. Hi, it's your favorite aunt. The internal groan. Me. Hi, how are you? EA. Good, anyway, I have a favor. Me. Suspicious. What? EA. Well, I was thinking that since you're too young and since you never met him, can I have your inheritance? I start laughing. EA. Excuse me, I'm not joking. You don't need it, I do. I'm his oldest grandchild. She iced. And I deserve it. Didn't my brother teach you to respect your elders, or is he being effing, you know what I mean, abusive and neglectful? Me. No, he loves me and I don't know what it is. I have 3 years to wait. Just stop. Why on earth do you think you are entitled to it? EA. You horrible spoiled effing fatso. You do what I say. At this point my dad walks in and I put her on speaker. Since I am your aunt, I could kill you and no one would care. You are a effing disgrace to this family and we all EFFKMG hate you. I calmly reply, my dad's here and she's on speaker. Dad, you think it's okay to say that to 18? You're the spoilt one. It's not his or my fault you wasted the 10 grand he left to you on ALCHOL and clothes, so FK off. Never contact us again and I will be speaking to granddad about this. He calls my granddad and a few hours later granddad calls him back saying he's dealt with her and has even cut her from his will. I don't know why she feels she's entitled to this. Honestly, I kinda don't know if I want it because this is the first time someone has tried to take inheritance I can't touch yet. I don't know if it's worth the hassle. I will update but not what I get. Have a lovely day. TL. Doctorate's in the title and she is kicked out of my granddad's will. Edit. I know about the confusion but there was a Yorkshire regiment in World War II in Falklands. Thank you to the kind Reddit user who found it. His comment is down below. Edit 2. Thanks stranger for my first gold. Smiling face with squinting eyes. Smiling face with squinting eyes. Smiling face with squinting eyes. Face blowing a kiss. Thank you. Next. Long time reader. First time poster. On mobile but English is first language, so come at me if you find an error. Not going to bother with the acronyms. Anyone who's read a post before should understand them, lol. My GF and I were at Disney World, and waiting in line at the Space Mountain attraction. EK ducks under fence, lifts up my GF's shorts, and stares at her OS. Then runs back to his family and gets on the ride before we can say anything. We decide to talk to the parents and let them know what had happened after the ride, as we didn't think that what the kid had done was okay. We get off, walk up to the parents, and explain what had happened. They were apologetic and said they would talk to their kid, then begin to walk out. After the ride, there is a long walkway that is secluded and cut off from the rest of the park. We start walking up it, and EPs come walking back down. EF stops half an inch from my face, and EM about a foot back from my GF. EF, my son couldn't have been creeping on GF. He's 7. Me, he did. We saw it happen. EF, so you think my 6Y/0 son was perving on your GF? Grow the fuck up and stop lying or I will break you in half and fucking kill you, you little penis. They're English so must be an insult over there? At this point, EF is so close I can smell the shit he had for breakfast. Me, I told you what we saw happen. Whether or not you choose to believe us is your prerogative. EF, I'm going to f-king kill you. While all this was happening, EM and GF were also in an argument defending their SOs. At this point, EM begins to realize there are people coming and grabs EF and they begin to dash out of there with the kids in tow. We instantly run up to security once we get out and describe what had happened, and they call the cops. Cops say they can't do anything because they never actually hit one of us. I was hoping they'd get charged and really f-ked over and miss their plane while waiting in jail or something since they were from England and on vacation. Sadly, that didn't happen. I don't even think they got kicked out of the park. Security refused to even look at the video. I know there are 2 different ages listed. EF said both so I have no clue which one is correct. EM also said 5 at some point in her and GF's conversation. TL. Doctor. Kid looked up GF's shorts. EPs threatened to kill us for telling them. Cops get called. Can't do anything because Florida. Edit 1. Some missing details. GF is 19, I'm 18. And the kid admitted it when the parents asked him before they apologized and made the kid apologize. Edit 2. Prerogative. Thank you. Next. This isn't a story per se, but it's a collection of things that my GF's parents do. I met my current girlfriend this summer. We came to know each other through my old classmates and instantly clicked. We had shared interests and mostly shared the same vibes. The only thing was that I was with my ex at the time, so a relationship was out of the question. Even when we were just hanging around with other friends, her parents were really annoying. They would call once every hour, set ridiculous curfews and restrictions and so on. Some of these really stick out. One evening, when we were chatting using the video chat feature on Messenger, her dad called and ordered her to pay him €20 for no reason. When she arrives home earlier than she was promising, they instantly get suspicious. I don't really know why. There are a lot of things she can do until she has reached 18. She is currently 17. For example, no ear piercings until you are 18. They also don't deem her having a boyfriend before she is 18. We are currently trying to hide our relationship, but it's getting harder every day. So yeah, they are weird. At least in my opinion. Thank you. Next. Alright, let me start out by saying this happened a long time ago after I had stopped working at Mickey D's. It was my first job and I didn't even last 2 months because upper management there was batshit crazy in the sense that she yelled at me for putting ketchup on a burger after the mustard. But that's a story for a different day. Onto the EM fiasco. TL. Doctor. EM. VIP Mom MA. MCDS Associate Behind the Counter. Yours truly. As mentioned above, the McDonald's I worked at was the smallest in the area and was notorious for getting complaints from people quite often in hopes of getting free stuff. Right across the way was a grocery store that I worked at after leaving MD's and I stopped in to grab lunch and see how my old co-workers were doing. The place was a madhouse. They were doing the best that they could with the few bodies they had, but inside was packed and there was a long line in the drive-thru. I felt bad for them almost immediately. I ordered my food and could hear a few of the other customers as they made comments passing by the window. One of them belonged to our superstar EM. She made some offhand comment about hoping the food was still warm with how long she had to wait and some dumb joke about fast food, more like slow food. Nobody laughed cause that joke is never funny. So anyway, I'm waiting in the sidelines for my order and about 3 or 4 minutes later this lady marches past me in a huff and waves her bag at the girl behind the register's face. You know, because she is the most important paying customer. EM, excuse me, but I just waited in line forever and you forgot half of my fries. MA, I'm terribly sorry, miss. We'd be happy to replace them em. Well, you wouldn't have to replace them if you didn't jip me in the first place. How hard is it to fill the containers up all the way? I'm really sorry. Well, get you new fries soon em. It better be soon. I had to wait for almost a half hour in drive-through. The poor girl was so flustered, understandably so because she was new and she just repeatedly apologized, trying to appease the hangry em. The nerve. How could the cashier have been so neglectful of her as she tried to get these fine folks their food? Well, em wasn't content with her apologies and had to make sure everyone in the restaurant heard about it. She bitched. She moaned. She went on to gripe to the lady beside her who was just as hungry as the rest of us, but had enough common sense to be quiet about it. After about a solid minute of her loud mouth, my own hanger got the best of me, and I unleashed the beast within. Lady, can you not see how busy they are? Excuse me. I don't believe I was talking to you. Oh, you weren't? Cause with as loud as you're being the entire restaurant can hear you griping. Didn't like that one bit. She huffed. She puffed. But she just crossed her arms and just kept scoffing repeatedly because not a soul stood up for her and her little pea brain couldn't comprehend how to handle sarcasm or shoot out a witty retort. Poor, hangry being humiliated like that. The best part about the whole thing was the girl behind the counter whispering / mouthing thank you to me. I grabbed my food when it came up, threw a disgusted look and told her, don't let miserable people ruin your day, fear not worth it. Her smile could have lit up the room and just glowered daggers at me. I've dealt with people like that when I worked there and have zero tolerance for the disrespect. As such, I will always defend employees if I see that crap and shut it down with the quickness. Maybe if you'll enjoy this post I'll share the one about my first day on the job at Mickey D's dealing with the entitled grandpa who chewed my dumber self out for being uneducated. TL. Doctor, angry mom whines about her lost french fries and gets put in her place by yours truly. Thank you. Next. Yet another tale from my life with an entitled mum. This happened a while ago but it's a good one. Where I grew up there was no such thing as universal healthcare, so once I turned 18 there went my chance to see a doctor on a routine basis. Any injuries or illnesses were a coin toss to decide if it's worth going into debt to see a doctor. Since the age of 4 months I was hospitalized yearly for pneumonia. I had chronic bronchitis and come the winter months it turned nasty and off I would go for a hospital stay. Once I reached the magic age of no health insurance I pretty much just hoped for the best every year and that I would not need the hospital. I was fairly lucky for quite a few years. This one year no matter what I tried it got bad. I was pretty much coughing up a lung or two. My back was killing me. I had broken a blood vessel in my eye from the coughing, and was starting to have trouble breathing. I knew my luck had run out that year. I was fortunate enough to live near a clinic that took into account your wages, so I decided I had no choice but to go. My mum was unhappy I was going as I was not ill enough to waste her time watching my son while I went. I just told her I needed to go and please watch my son. Eventually she relented with a huge sigh to show her inconvenience. So I get to the clinic, stand in the line and wait. I was about 15 or so people back waiting to check in. There was a nurse doing cursory checks on people as we waited. He finally got to me and here is how the conversation went. Nurse, what are you here for today? Me, I have really bad cough and trouble catching my breath. Nurse, okay, let me listen to your lungs. Me, no problem. The nurse took one listen and asked how many cigarettes I smoked daily. I was confused as I am a non-smoker just because of my lung problems and told him so. He listened again and said, it's okay if you smoke, we just need to know to help. Still very confused I said I am a non-smoker. He got a really worried look at, said come with me. As I was way down the line I was getting rather worried. I was rushed into the back and straight to x-ray. After x-ray the doctor came and gave me IV antibiotics and 4 breathing treatments back to back. He said I had a bad case of pneumonia and he wanted to get me admitted to the hospital. He made me stay at the clinic until he was satisfied my breathing had become less labored. As there was no way my mum would let me inconvenience her any more than I had, I told the doctor I couldn't. So I just said I could not, but if I could get antibiotics I would take them, and if things got any worse I would be back. After several hours of IV meds and the breathing treatments he allowed me to leave. Once I got home I had an inquisition from, you guessed it, My entitled mum. Mum, why have you been gone for so long? Me, I had to get an IV and lots of breathing treatments as I have pneumonia. Mum, why are you always trying to outdo me in being ill? She has high blood pressure and had a quadruple heart bypass. Me, I tried to tell her I wasn't doing that, I just got ill. The next day she was so ill she was unable to leave her bed. So that left me having to get up and take care of the things that needed doing, no matter that I was supposed to be on bed rest myself. Luckily for me, I did just the vital things until I was feeling better, and just rested on the couch as I could. I learned quickly that if I became ill I was never as ill as she was, and she made sure she told me so all the time. Thank you. Next. This happened about 4 years ago. My niece was 10 and nephew 7. I took them to the beach. At one point they tell me they needed to go to the restroom. I give them the stick together speech and send them off. They have been to this beach several times every summer their whole lives. I stay with our stuff, but I can see them until they walk up the steps to the building with the bathrooms and gift shop. A little bit later I look up and can pick both of them running towards me through the crowd. Nieces is tall and a towhead. She has been in dance from her first step. Nephew is an athlete with red hair. They are easy to find in a crowd just from their way of walking. Followed by a woman. They get to me and before the kids could say anything she starts screaming. Did you let those kids go off by themselves? Me, no, they were with each other, they are fine. They are too young. Me, she is 10. According to the state of Texas she is old enough to be held accountable for her actions, including being arrested. So I think she is old enough to walk with her brother to public bathrooms in a place filled with families. They could have been kidnapped. Besides, they were rude to me. Meow. I told them to come with me to the lifeguard because they were lost and they said no, go away, we don't know you. Me. So they refused to go off with a stranger. A basic safety rule 3 yo kids are taught and that makes them rude. At this point, a lifeguard and a guy in a golf shirt with park logo and shorts walks up and they simply tell the woman to leave me alone and that she had been told to stop harassing other visitors. The lifeguard walks her away. The manager type confirmed with the kids that she had spoken to them, ordered them to come with her, but had not grabbed or touched them. Then he told me they were going to make her and her family leave because this wasn't the first incident that day. The kids got praise from me and the next day their parents for handling the situation perfectly, telling the woman firmly no, and refusing to engage the crazy any further. Not falling into refusing to do obey random adults without question is rude trap. I also had a couple of people come up and apologize for not intervening. Basically because by the time they registered that the woman was a stranger to niece and nephew were running across the loose sand to me.